I, I think because sometimes in the books people need to know about the Eastern Shore of Maryland. And so I grew up in Cambridge, as well as everybody else there, about 15 minutes from where Harriet Tubman lived, and about 10 minutes from where Frederick Douglass lived. So as a child, I had come up with all of us knowing that. Harriet Tubman's first husband was a friend of my grandfather's. So I think that all of, whether you were adult or a child, all the people in Cambridge, had incorporated that into their psyche. So we had those models, and then we had some things that really weren't, they didn't let us into the hospitals. The black community had to raise money to buy an ambulance and get somebody to volunteer. If the one black doctor needed a hospital, they had to take you to Baltimore. So we had that thing in terms of the health situation, although the federal government, you were supposed to be totally desegregated. We had my grandfather's time, he and a slave set up the school system there. And they obviously set up a very good one because a lot of the kids that came out of those hospitals were able to pass the exam that enabled them to belong to the National Honor Society across the country. We had, so the oppression there, as well as some of the things that black folks did for themselves, kind of made the framework in which people could move forward to fight. There's just one other thing. We had 5 wards in Cambridge. That came out of a plantation system with slaves because the aristocrats, both in Cambridge and on the Eastern Shore, were slave owners. I don't know how or at what point, whether Reconstruction or the Civil War or whatever, that they took this town and made it into 5 wards. One ward, the second ward, was all black. The other wards were white. And so we also had that, one big togetherness. The other piece was that the black folks over generations in Cambridge had been there. They didn't come from other places across the South. They didn't come from other places from the North or wherever. So they also had 3 or 4 generations in there. So I think that was a melding pot. The 4 white wards also were structured so that according to socioeconomic status of the whites, one ward was just poor whites, one ward was middle-income whites, another ward was aristocrats. And so in the end, we spent 62 going to Baltimore and Washington and talking to politicians. And then we gave that up because nothing happened. It was just perfectly even. And then we started using a variety of tactics, civil disobedience, picketing, mass marches, boycotts. There was a bus company, and people hired that to take them to other towns to buy their clothes and groceries. So that's finally how, as Joe Fitzgerald said, that by the time we got to Washington, they called us to Washington, they said the town is broke. Also, we found out through that process that the politicians weren't going to help, whether they were black or white, weren't going to help us anyhow. And that's when we started making our own kind of arrangements and creating. It wasn't one march a year. People were out there every day just about. The young high school kids and grammar school kids, if it was only 7 of them, white folks got scared to death. We can't go downtown. We can't go buy this because all those people are down there. So by midway in the campaign, if they saw 4 people over there, they wouldn't touch any of the downtown and Ray Street stores and stuff.